Hold on. Okay, can you hear me, Nzingha?
Yes.
Okay, we're live. Let me just throw on the intro right quick, and then we'll be ready. Okay, welcome everyone to the Tonya 23 experience. And good evening to my co-host, Queen Nzingha Alston. Yay! I hope everyone is on a high frequency today, as all days, but we hope that we're keeping our frequencies high. So how are you doing, Queen?
Heptepu, everyone. That's greetings in the Egyptian language. Peace be with you. Habaragani. Wahuntase. Alafia, because we have people listening from Africa. And assalamu alaikum to our Muslim brothers and sisters. What's happening? Peace and blessings.
So much. Before we get started, I'm trying to make it a routine just to mention that not only do we have this YouTube channel in which we need everyone to like, share our videos, and subscribe, which is so very important. Not only that, we have a website. The website is www.tonya23.com. And just come on over, take a visit to subscribe to get all of our latest notifications, like to our blogs. We have a retail page in which we sell wonderful items and a lot of designer items also to keep our page and channels going. As you know, nothing is free. And so we want to ramp up our production, make things look a little better, get a little more professional. And so all of that helps when our subscribers are supportive. And and that's how you find out all the different new things that we're going to talk about, and events, different, because we're going to have shows. So we're going to do a lot of different things coming up and moving forward. So definitely get over there and subscribe with your email address and stay up to date. Now, all of the crazy and some wonderful things going on in the world, we're going to shift it over to Queen Nzingha to see how we're going to kick this conversation off tonight.
Yes, thank you, my niece, Aset, Tonya.
Yes.
I'm Nzingha Alston. And one thing I mentioned last week on our podcast was about reparations in New York State. A councilman, Charles Barron, along with a senator, I think his name is Bruni, they passed a bill for reparations. And we mentioned it last week that the deadline was June 8th. At that time, at cast time, the deadline had already happened. Well, believe it or not, the bill passed in New York State. I was one who received the notice late on June 8th, that afternoon, but you better bet that I was on that phone calling senators, calling assembly persons, calling the council members and everything, okay? So with that great work of New Yorkers and our wonderful councilman, again, Charles Barron, signing that bill into effect, and it was a bill from Queen Mother Moore, okay, proposed it to Charles Barron, as well as other legislators, okay? So what a wonderful defeat. And that is definitely what, Tonya? Black power.
Yes, yes, at its finest. So I am dropping this information in the chat as we're talking about it.
Yes. And that brings us to this week. What's going on in New York State this week, as well as around the country? It's early election time again. It's voting time again. And remember, last week we said the ballot or the billet, Malcolm X said, through any means necessary. And that was one of his speeches, the ballot or the billet, okay? So in this case, we're talking about the voting ballot. Okay, in New York State, in New York City, it takes place June 17th, which was last Saturday, through this Saturday, June 25th, is early voting. And June 27th, primary election date. That's the primary election date, whereas you could select who you want to represent you for the primary, okay? Now, the offices on the ballot are city council, district attorney, judges, and more. Now, for more information, you contact New York City Votes, at New York City Votes. It's on FaceTime, Twitter, and all social media. There are letters that are going around that are also important, that are bills, and you have to read them very carefully. So when you go to vote, if you're doing early voting or you're going to vote on Tuesday, June 27th, which is primary election day, you have to read the front of the ballot as well as the back, okay? And everything is done electronically now. And I'm going to show you my voter registration card, okay? It has your election district on it, as well as your assembly district. If you receive this in the mail, you take this with you, and you don't have to have ID if you have this, okay? Because they know you're already a registered voter. All right. So in New York State, the number is 866 VOTE NYC, which translates to 866 868 3692.
Repeat that one more time for us.
Yes, ma'am. 866 868 3692. And if you want to go online directly, it's vote.newyorkcity. Okay. If you want to see where you have to go at to vote, you call that number. Okay. So it's vote New York City. So now that legislation was passed on reparations as a result of people voting, the assembly people, the Congress people, the senators, and the council people, etc. And it's not finished yet, because there are going to be certain requirements in every state for reparations. And you have to follow those state regulations on reparations. For instance, they might ask you, who was a slave in your family? That's very easy to get. Go to the Department of Records, okay? You could also do this on your iPhone, or if you have any phone, you could go online if you're on Facebook and you could do your search. Of course, you can Google the information as well, So
But we
you can
would
find that
say
information.
our great grandparent, our great grandparents
Yes,
were the
they
slaves.
were slaves. And then, you could go to, if they're deceased, you go to deceased records or death records. Now, my mother, for instance, was born in 1926. So her mother was born in the 1800s. All right, we just celebrated Juneteenth. Slavery ended. Well, they celebrated June 19th, 1865. So go back 3 years. That's June 19th, 1862, where actually the proclamation to end slavery was written by Frederick Douglass and other abolitionists and freedom fighters,
But it
and
wasn't
gave it to
passed yet.
Lincoln. Okay, Lincoln did not free the slaves. Ashe. So they gave it to him and they demanded the end to slavery. Okay, and that's what we have to do. So it's simple to go back in time and find this information.
Mm-hmm.
Just do your math. I know that we have the greatest, Tonya, we have the greatest street pharmacists, and they know, and we have the greatest mathematicians, realistically. So you know how to do math, my people. So just do it.
Yes, and the thing is, as families or whatever, we got to start gathering the information because we need names, places where to where to get the information, because it's probably public record, because that's what the professional people, when you hire them to do a family tree, they basically are using census records and different things like that. But you have to
Death record,
areas, yeah, you got to give them the locations,
birth
last
certificates.
names, and they have to be maiden names for a lot of the
Exactly.
women, so you got to start gathering this information.
And don't forget, we have an oral tradition. So contact your elders in your family, okay, down south, up north, in the west, the east, the four corners, all
Yeah,
over.
because
Contact
they
your
can sit there
relatives
and tell
to
you the
find out
stories.
the oral information, and your relatives will give you the information and the suggestions. And then
Yeah,
you go on the computer and find the rest, because they're
but
going
you
to need help
figure
as well.
people in our age group can go ahead and assume, like I said, I'm in my 50s, so I would assume that my grandparents' parents were definitely in that slavery era. So we would start like from there and go back. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Or you
And
could start from there and move forward.
so if you go to your fathers, if they're alive, if your mothers are alive, go to your mothers. If you have great cousins, like we have a cousin who know all the history on, his name is what's
Haven.
his name? Turner, Haven
Haven.
Turner,
Mhm.
and he knows a lot of information, and he could give us that information. And
Yeah,
my
we gotta
cousin,
start gathering it. That's it. We
right,
like gotta put together, start having like even if you can't come together physically, you could do like it's a Zoom call. You can
mhm,
have up to 50 or sometimes 100 people on Zoom. But as families, we gotta start coming together and getting this information because it's moving fast.
right. And remember, it's race first, as Marcus Garvey said, race first. We're going to worry about us here in the United States, okay, who were descendants of slaves, foundational slaves, some people say. No, I'm sorry, foundational Black Americans, some people say. But we are definitely descendants of slaves,
What
okay?
is the category that the government is using
Yes.
for the
Whatever they use, let's take advantage of it. And don't forget, they called us before. My mother hated that term, colored people. They called us Negroes. They called us so many different names. Okay. And if they called us African Americans, but we're Africans vita America. Okay. That's it. We were born here. Okay. When Italians are born in Italy, they don't say Italian/Americans. No, they're still Italians. So no matter what oceans we came across and were brought and stole from Africa and brought across to America, we are still Africans, okay? And we are the first ones, our great parents and forefathers, they built this country. And there's the African burial grounds as well in every state in America. In New York City, it's down on Broadway, I believe, in Chambers. Okay, just look it up, Google it. It's called the African Burial Grounds. Many more have been discovered over the last couple of years. There's even some in Brooklyn as well. Remember, there were underground railroads and churches. So sometimes you have to go look up those churches and find where those undergrounds were.
You know how they have the potters?
They might have some baptismal records.
That too. But
Yeah.
even for like the potter's field plots,
Yes.
you know, if they put names on the
Well, they have to record names as well for potter's
recorded, but it might not be like where you could read the grave thing.
Okay. I'm gonna name cemetery that a lot of people here in New York City are familiar with. It's called the Ferncliff Cemetery. A lot of Black people, famous and otherwise, have been buried at that cemetery. It's the same cemetery that Malcolm X is buried at, Dr. Betty Shabazz, Queen Mother Moore, Paul Robeson. I think Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben is there as well. But they have records, and their records are definitely available for our ancestors. Okay, they have a list of Black icons. Queen Mother Moore is there as well. A list of Black icons who are buried in their cemetery, as well as sheroes and heroes in our community, and unmentioned, I would say, soldiers and Conrads. Okay, so look into Ferncliff Cemetery, as well as a lot of other cemeteries that Black people use. In Brooklyn, Cypress Hill Cemetery. Okay.
And so this bill covers the whole state of New York?
Yes.
Okay. So
Albany, Poughkeepsie, New Paltz.
Yeah, the information should have been disseminated from like Albany, because I gather it was made there. That's where the capital.
Yeah. I think last week I read the actual bill, the actual reparations bill. It was in last week's conversations, and I don't have it listed today, but it's now public history. It was a historic event. So Google it. If you get any newspaper in New York, it will be in that newspaper. The Amsterdam News came out today, so it's definitely in the Amsterdam News and the New York Times. It was on every major media in USA News and every major media in New York City and New York State. So it's no secret. It's historic. And it's a first. So let's move on to something else. Tonya, are there any comments in the chat as of yet?
I do not see any comments.
Well, people,
I put there.
If you join in tonight to Tonya 23, the House of Tonya 23, and if you're in the audience, listening audience, if you put your name and where you're located at, then we will shout you out. We'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, you don't have to put your name because you got the channel right there, but just let us know where you're chiming in from.
Right.
I'm chiming in from Maryland.
And I'm chiming in from New York City.
Let us know the chat works. We need to see other people in the chat.
So please join us, and don't be afraid to say your name and where you're calling from. There may be some people in the listening audience in Africa, Nigeria. Some people have contacted me previous to us going live, and they were from Nigeria, and the time zone over there is different, the 5-hour difference. So what time is it now over here? Let me see.
8:41.
It's 8:41, so it's 5-hour difference over there. So I know that the Minstar family is listening in. The Iguzi family is listening in. So I say thank you, my Pan-Africanist brothers and sisters, for listening in. And we appreciate you. And we know you're up late. And if you're listening in from LA, it's I believe, a 3 to 4 hour difference. And I say to you, welcome. And we thank you for listening in, and you're definitely appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are so appreciated. Yes, because, since we've been doing this, we haven't had much interaction in our chat area, and we're not even sure if people are getting our notifications. When you subscribe, are you hitting the notification bell? Are you actually receiving the notification? So, yes, please participate so we can answer some of these questions that we have on the YouTube. And we don't want to be putting all this work in on a shadow banned channel. It's as simple as that.
Oh, and on the note of voting, may I mention again, we mentioned it previously, but again, it's a young brother who's running. His name is Yusef Salon. He's running in East Harlem against some major people in East Harlem. However, remember him from the Central Park Five, the now exonerated Five. His name again is Yusef Salon. He was falsely accused of raping a white woman in Central Park that went public, and he went to jail, as well as 4 others, and more. Okay, I'm going to say that. It was first 10 and then 7, and then they narrowed it down to 5. So again, remember his name, Yusef Salon. He's running for a council person in Harlem, East Harlem, New York City. He's running against Inez and some other people, and it's a big race and a big ado up in Harlem. So you have to get to the polling, people. It's early voting until Saturday, June 25th. And then, of course, on Tuesday, June 27th, is the primary. You could even take your children with you, because I think that might be a half a day, and school is ending in New York City. But feel free to take your children with you so they could get in the process of voting. Remember, we are teaching our children generational wealth. And part of our generational wealth is to vote through any means necessary. Our politicians, I'm going to tell you something. I call it politics and politics. Okay.
It's basically what we want to do is, like, because you have, like, in the Black community, you have a big stigma, and then you have people in certain religions that don't vote or get involved in anything like that. And so it's like, with the local community, though, we have to learn to begin to position ourselves like a chess game. We can't get anything that we want and need, our needs met, without having people in certain positions. And so therefore we have to support the young people and see what their plans and everything is all about before we just say, oh no, we're not voting. Be mindful of the strategy of local government.
Exactly, because the council people determine bills, and then they suggest those bills to the assembly people and to the senators and the Congress people. Okay, now the council people make legislation on schools, on parks, on hospitals, on the homeless people, transportation,
services,
practically. It's a very important position. As you can see with Charles Barron, he built parks in East New York. He built housing in East New York. He built grocery stores where there were only liquor stores in our communities, so people could have fruit and vegetables and fresh organic products,
Right.
vegetables and everything, water. So everybody wants to live in East New York as a result. Hey, and if you don't think so, honey, just get on that A train and that C train, and you get off at Grand Street or Broadway Junction, and you're going to see the many different people and the diversity now, okay? It's not only Puerto Ricans and Black people. Many Europeans from Australia all over the world are in East New York. And guess what? The police are protecting them. The politicians are protecting them. Those people who get off the buses, they have certain rights of asylum. When they claim asylum under the US government, there's certain laws that this government has to represent. And one is the promise of allowing them to have lawyers so that they don't have to go back to their country and face prosecution and possibly death, okay? Or jail for life. So they are granted lawyers, okay? They have a right for their children to go to school. They could get welfare or social services. The mayor of New York even gave them cell phones for communication. And as you can see, he's setting up housing. And I believe that FEMA set up $164 billion to give them, okay? So the people from Afghanistan first, who have claimed asylum, the people from, what's that country that Russia is fighting with?
Ukraine.
They were giving them apartments and housing, food, cell phones, and everything, because they had to leave everything in their country. And once you claim asylum, that is so powerful. You could look up the laws on Google it, but it's a whole nother atmosphere and spectrum. That certain places like New York is a safe zone for them. Okay, so look, I ain't mad at them. However, I am mad at our politicians, and one being Mayor Adams, because I did vote for him. Okay, he's forgetting about the people who were here existing first. Okay, when I had to go to housing court and I wanted legal representation, I couldn't get a lawyer. However, the people who are claiming asylum, they're getting attorneys. And guess who's representing them? The Legal Aid Society. Okay, when we didn't get legal lawyers to represent us, I had to hire my own attorney. Okay, fortunately, I had means to do that with. But everyone doesn't have a means. And now they own something that's happening in New York City again. They just, the rent, New York City or New York State rent board just passed a bill to increase the rents in New York City. Come on. Can they get any higher? A studio
Increase the rents?
Yes. A studio in New York City already is going for $3,200 average. A studio, okay? Now, people mostly have families, so they need at least a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, okay? So now they went to 1-year lease is 3.5%. 2-year lease is 4.6% and on and on. So are they now wiping the poor people out? Is this now going to be a city just for billionaires and millionaires?
Pretty much.
Come on. We got to do something, people. We got to step up.
They're not even trying to propose a rent, what do you call it? A balance thing where they go by percentage of income.
And a rent freeze or a rent freeze, so.
Well, not exactly a freeze, because that's not the answer, because people just don't pay the rent and it backs up, and then somebody got to pay that lump sum because they already did the rent freeze, and now this is the repercussions. A lot of people, soon as the date went past and they didn't extend it, right from there, they had all these court cases that they filed in the rent court.
Was also due to landlords foreclosing on their properties, and a lot of people had to scramble and get out. as a result of that pandemic, people were not working, and a lot of people didn't know how to create an income for themselves. So a lot of people wound up homeless. And again,
They
you better
should
bet
have
your
done the
dollar.
stimulus. What they
Right,
should have done was automatically know that if a person doesn't work, they can't pay their mortgage or their rent. So
exactly.
they should have handled that right away, not just say, oh, the people, you know, excuse them, they don't have to pay it by federal law and just throw that, option out there. But they needed to come up with the money. Okay,
Well, yeah,
they're
there
not
was money
paying it, but
available.
somebody got to pay it. They should
There
have
was
never
money,
let that go
right.
like that.
Well, there was money available from the federal government. However, there was so much red tape that all the states didn't even, in America didn't even have their um, legislation together on
Didn't
distributing
have to
the
had to have it. You know what I'm saying?
they had the
Didn't
money,
have to have
but
it.
they wound some of them stole the money. Okay.
And they
Some
had
stole the
just
money.
did a new census. They had just completed a new one, you know? So
It's terrible because the children really suffered during that pandemic. Now they had a survey that the this week that third graders through eighth graders, their reading scores and math scores were down as a result
suffering.
of
Yeah.
the pandemic. A
Mm.
lot of people didn't have computers in their house, and the school system was supposed to provide computers as well as laptops to these students, and they didn't have it. And now they're giving people free Wi-Fi.
The
However,
federal government was supposed to whatever school districts couldn't afford to get the laptops. That was the money they were supposed to be using that they sent everywhere else. You see what I'm
it,
saying? There was a
and,
lot of stuff
and
neglected.
as
They
usual,
sent all that money.
people in the government stole money. Okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't disseminated to the poor people. People stole the money, and
Mhm.
now they're under investigation. And da 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 la 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 la. Okay, they're in
Yeah,
court,
no one's
but
talking about it, of
people are
course.
still suffering. It's ridiculous. You know what? On Juneteenth, I met a lot of homeless people at Penn Station on 34th Street, and I
Wow.
seen some seagulls
Okay, we
and
got
some
some chat.
pigeons.
Hi,
Right? But
Nigeria. Yes. Thanks
go
for
ahead.
coming through. No, I was just saying to
Say
Nigeria, thanks for coming through, letting us know our chat does work.
that's your daughter.
Yes, yes.
That's my
Your
grand great
niece.
my grand niece
Yes.
is Offset's daughter,
Yes.
and we also have I have a great grand niece.
Yes.
We have a new addition to the family, and she is so sweet, y'all. She's
Yeah.
ready already.
Yes, she is so ready. Well, yeah, so go ahead, continue. That's what we need to figure out, this whole, roof
So
over our head situations.
yeah, so I met some homeless people at Penn Station outside. They had already had their showers and everything, and they had their breakfast. It was early in the morning, and I ate a dirty Frank. I ate a dirty New York Frank, right? Because I was hungry. I was
Okay,
waiting
so
on.
break that down to those that don't know. What's a dirty New York Frank?
So they have these Frank stands in New York City on every major corner from 34th Street to Midtown. I would say from the Village all the way up to Times Square. And they have these cots. They get a permit, and usually men and women are selling these franks. And they're supposed to be Hebrew National 100% franks, right? And then they have water, boiled water that they have them in. And then you could get mustard, ketchup, onions, sauerkraut, or what?
We grew up on those things. We actually had a hot dog truck, remember?
Had a hot truck.
But we had to have a license to have it, though,
Yeah, exactly.
and go through
People make a
inspections
lot
and
of money.
whatnot.
People
Yeah,
make a lot of money with those trucks. They also sell some of them sodas, juices, Snapple,
we had all that stuff.
Gatorade, water. They sell Knish. Remember the Knish? That you
Yeah.
put the potato, you put the water in. And
Mhm.
some of them now, the new thing for vegetarians, they'll sell like falafel and hummus. Okay,
Hummus, yeah.
I would say those are dirty falafels as well, but they're not the. Sometimes it's not why we say dirty because they're not the most sanitary people. Sometimes they get shut down by the Board of Health, but
Right.
most of them now are cleaner and they have an A, but we still call them the dirty Frank. So I had one for breakfast. It was delicious, and I got gas later, right?
Yes.
On June 19th, 2023. But going back to the homeless people, because I said, oh, hold on. I don't usually see seagulls and pigeons together. So, this homeless man started breaking down the science on it. He said, well, there's a river, the Hudson is on 10th Avenue. I said, oh, yeah. So he said, well, that's where the seagulls come from. And they, we was in front of the 33rd Street main post office on 33rd Street and 8th Avenue, across the street from Pennsylvania Station, which is now the Morningham Station. Senator Morningham, named after him.
Wow.
For that dirty dog. Oh, and they need to take that name off.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. But this is New York. Everything is crazy.
They trying to change everything. It's just wow. Surprised that if they could, they would change the Apollo real quick. The name.
You know it. Well, anyway, the homeless people start breaking information down for me scientifically. So, they were talking about the pigeons, and we were talking about the seagulls. And they had one woman who come every day and she feed the birds. So the pigeons was of course on it because they're greedy and whatnot. But the seagulls, something very interesting. They stood back as the bigger birds, and they let the pigeons, the younger birds or the smaller birds, they let them eat first.
Mm-hmm.
Then they came later, right, when the pigeons went away.
Yeah.
Because also a homeless person said to me, well, yeah, you see, seagulls are like that. They separate. They stay with their own kind. Everybody in nature, all the animals stay with their own kind, okay? And he said, well, seagulls, they flock together. Like, that term, birds in the feather will flock together. Yeah. So the seagulls was like standing off. Let the pigeons go first. Let the sparrows go first. And then, it's enough food for us. So then we'll come down on it and nobody ain't going to bother us. Right. The
that way everybody could eat,
Yeah. It was so communal amongst the birds. And I said, well, you know what? It made me learn something about these birds. And I'm also listening to the homeless people telling me the story behind these birds so scientifically. And I couldn't tell the story more scientific. So you don't know who you find on these streets, and you don't know who you could learn from. You could learn from any and everybody. Yes. Because in nature, an ant, a fly, a bird, a mouse, a rat, an elephant, a squirrel, any form of the stars, the moon, the sun, they all have their natural state in this hemisphere.
Yes.
We have to pay attention to them. Mm-hmm. And we can learn a lot from them.
A few months ago, I think it was during a specific lunar cycle, they kept on getting drone images of flocks of cattle going around in circles and other flocks of sheep. Like they were just huddling in a spot and just kept repetitively going around in the same circle. And so we were like, oh yeah, that's a sign something's going down in the universe or whatever. Because you just gotta study the animals and they'll tell you when something's coming or a change. Exactly. Or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it's a strong wind, they'll leave the north and they'll fly to the south. Mm-hmm. And something else, my niece, that I noticed too in this city, and people have been talking about it in other states as well, and printing it on Facebook and the internet. You're now seeing a lot of military planes flying in the sky.
Yeah.
¿Qué pasa? What's up with that?
Exactly.
Go ahead, my niece.
Some sort of cooperative again, that the public doesn't know about, most likely. But
Mhm.
whenever you see something like that, they are definitely gearing up for something.
Right. And what I think they're gearing up for, we
Mm-hmm.
being that we had the pandemic, we had so many other um catastrophic atrocities in our environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's so many different things underground in the Pentagon and all over that we don't know about. Um, Unidentified objects,
Mm-hmm.
extraterrestrials, and so many other things. Now, also, I was at the World Trade Center. I have seen young men who are in the military carrying military rifles, okay, and walking around in fatigue. So something, I mean, heavy, heavy, unusual security. Not only the New York City police, but the federal government as well. That's federal property, so you're going to have federal security as well.
Why are they
But
hyping up security? And is this
for
in
some,
New York or is this across the board?
are we going now into martial law?
Mm.
A
I
state of
heard that the
war?
Yeah, I heard that the other day that they wanted to go that route, but
Right.
for what specific reason?
Well,
Now,
after
there's
the
nothing
pandemic,
major going on.
now after the pandemic, it was like a shutdown. All
Hmm.
right. And some states even gave curfews, remember?
Right. And that
Right.
was with the riots and whatnot.
Right. And then some states had curfews and they had limitations on buying toilet paper, rationing out soap and other
Mhm.
essentials for our bodies and everything and our survival. Only essential services were recognized, like education, um, going to the store, the supermarkets, etc. When you see things like that, they're getting ready for martial law. And martial law means that the military will take over. And
Everything
it's going to be
militarized.
a lot of rules and regulations on people. And it's basically going to be another shutdown. And I hope it's not
Basically,
going to come
you're
soon.
allowed to
I'm
go to work, school, and back in your
right.
house or whatever. So apparently, there is some sort of another virus on the rise, and they're calling it RSV,
Mm-hmm.
a respiratory type virus, and it's ramping up, of course, more and more and more. But yeah, it's really not catching like it was expected to.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, on to the next thing, whatever that is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And then we had, remember they had the monkeypox, which was quite
Right.
racist.
And the Omicron, and that is basically a sun thing, a phase that they were. It's an actual Omicron, so they took the actual name and attached it to a virus or whatever. But if you do that, you could go down for copyright infringement. Like they just doing like I have this app that it helps you track stars and different things. And I've been using it for a few years and I'm seeing where they just going in renaming all the stars and stuff, like renaming them after them and the different scientists or the researchers or whatever. They're just like renaming the whole cosmos. And I found out the other day that now if you got enough money, you could get a star named after you. Now they're
Mhm.
selling the stars now.
And
Yeah.
they sell
How far is too far?
tennis. They sell parts of pavement when they're building new buildings. If you pay a certain amount, $250, if they're building a new church or whatever, you could get a star as well. But
Wow.
yeah, they break it up. And you could walk down, like if you walk around hospitals or around the World Trade Center, you'll see names
Yeah, I
on
know.
pavement.
Yeah,
And those are the people who donated their money to have their name on that piece of land.
right. Well, humanity has gone to a level to where there's certainly no turning back, but we definitely need to do some adjusting now before it's too late with our mentality on certain things. certain things should not be for sale. Air,
Exactly.
water,
Mm-hmm. Gas.
actual current, gas,
Mm-hmm.
whatever comes from the earth that is plentiful enough for everyone for life should not be sold. You know what I mean? There's just we can't even get into that on this show. The countless destruction, the selling of earth
Earth
has
and making them into commodities where you have a gas station, electric station, now a cell phone station.
yes, and most of us are buying our water. And I also saw air in a can for sale, and it was quite expensive for a couple of puffs of oxygen, or
Yeah, I
better
have a
air
little
than what's available out here. You
I have
know,
a little can. I have a little can because I have asthma, so I have a little can. I don't
wow.
know if it worked, but I bought it for
Right, you
emergency
keep it for
purposes.
emergency, right? I
Exactly.
almost did that too. It was like almost $20 in Rite
Yeah,
Aid. Yeah.
yes. I went to Dwayne Reed, which is now Walgreens. And
Mm,
I'm like, this is an arm and leg, but I'm gonna have it just in case I can't make it to an emergency room or urgent care. I have my
yeah,
own oxygen
right.
little thing. It's very light.
Only a
I
little
can
bit, my goodness. You'd be like,
oh my goodness. And we're paying for that. We're paying for water. We're
yeah,
paying for gas. We're paying for heat. We're paying for electric. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
So,
America,
speaking of
America.
electric, today here on our local news, they were protesting against the electric company, was trying to come
Uh-huh.
in and do something. But ever since the pandemic, like they used to have certain budget billing and different things like that.
Yeah.
Well, they sent a notice out to everybody saying no more of that. Like after all the government subsidies and all of that came through, they sent everybody a letter saying no more programs, no more help, this and that. If you don't pay your bill, it's going to go through a regular shut off process. And they were even trying to say, because it's always been a law that disabled people and, sick people, older people, or whatever, they're not allowed to just shut off the electric. Well,
Right.
they're trying to go against that as well. So they were out there protesting, and I was shocked. It was only three white women out there protesting.
Well, you know
People
something.
left when they mentioned the police, right?
Mhm.
So they went down, they got arrested and everything. I guess they wanted to be seen, get arrested, and they were like, my arm and this and that. Yeah, they,
Mhm.
they, they went down for the cause. And I was like, yeah, it should have been a lot more people out there because it is crazy what the electric company's doing right now.
But you know, those three people will make a difference. Number one,
I hope so.
you said they were white. So
Yeah,
okay,
three white
their
women,
children
and
are
they
going
had
to
to
be
call the
well,
police on them.
well, you know who's going to pay their children are going to get their mortgage if they get they're not going to have a bail. You know, they're going to be let go on their own
Right,
because
right,
they white privilege and whatnot. But the letters that are going to go out in the emails, people are going, oh, that's a shame that you arrested these
right,
elderly women. So they're
right,
going to
right.
get a
And
lot
they
of
were
attention.
older.
Right. They're going to get a lot of attention
Yeah,
and they're going to
I
probably get
hope
some
they do.
GoFundMe money and everything. And believe me, they're going to pay attention to what's going on over there.
Yeah,
And that's going to affect everyone in the world.
yeah.
In New York as well, upstate, everywhere, Maryland,
Because
all the
we
colleges
all
are going to
are,
get to it.
yeah, we all are being totally used
Right.
today,
So so
utility
sometimes
crap,
you could
just to
have a
live basic.
So sometimes you could have a small number. It could be one individual, but that one individual could be the crusader for everyone else. And
True.
then it stirs up a lot of questions.
Hmm.
It sets a precedence.
Right.
So
And
it's
whenever you mention the news or whatever, companies, they start to, try to make moves or whatever. Like you threaten to
right,
call the news or whatever, but sometimes they make you actually have to call the news. So what happened was the guys was out there trying to work, and I think they're trying to switch their meters over to smart meters and whatnot. And a lot of people was against that because of the extra current and radiation that they put out and stuff like that. So they
right.
stopped the guys from doing their work, and they couldn't go over there. So that's what made them get the police involved and whatnot. So yeah, it was just a little
It's
situation, but it needed to happen, and hopefully,
right.
they get some headway. They'll get a lot more support, from others
Well,
now that big
now in New York City,
election.
with that rent guidelines board,
Oh, people
oh
need to
my
stop.
God,
Yeah, they need to
you
stop
see the
and make them
people.
listen
You
by
probably saw it in the news, but the people, they were loud. They were in there. They were in their faces, and people were getting arrested inside as well as outside. They had like standing room only, no seats, but people said they don't need a seat, and people wanted to speak, and they were still defeated. However, they were noticed, and people were outside fighting and getting arrested, and it's not over yet, because who could pay these enormous amounts of rents in New York City?
They know
It's
better.
outrageous.
Yeah, it's more
It's
than what
outrageous.
people are being offered on any job. You know, your check ain't even enough to cover what they're asking. It's crazy.
And Mayor Adams, he's trying to cut schools budgets. He's
Mhm.
trying to cut libraries, parks,
Wow.
so many things. The food stamps, and of course in New York State, they had the pandemic stamps, and people were given an extra $95. That
Right.
was cut out in February, and
Mhm.
now they're even considering cutting again the food stamps,
Wow.
as well as Medicaid, Medicare, and other means of medical insurance. That is just totally unacceptable.
Totally.
And Adams, we invite
And
you to our
again, who does that affect mostly
right.
now? Now they
If
got
you
that
want to come
population.
to our podcast, Tonya, and
Mhm.
defend himself, let's welcome him. If he wants to call in, if someone by chance is listening, that's a part of his administration,
Exactly. We
please call.
have some questions. Yeah,
Yes, we'd
absolutely.
be happy to talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have so many questions that we would love to hear the answers
And
to. Yeah, because obviously someone's not asking these questions because things
yes,
are being like so many outlandish, just unacceptable to whoever. Like, who is going to agree to these things that they're proposing? That's what makes New York. It's parks, you know,
the
it's
museums.
different places. How could you attack the museums? You got to keep busy with positivity in a
It's
place like that.
libraries, my goodness.
You got
It's a literary
zoo
rate down in
too,
New York City. People are not reading on state
right?
level. How could you
Yeah,
possibly cut the budget for libraries? And
you
of course,
got
people want to go to
libraries.
the parks.
That's
Come
crazy.
on.
Like, people aren't paying attention if that goes
Yeah.
through.
If someone is listening out there who has access to Mayor Eric Adams, please tell them to contact us online right
Yes,
now.
we,
We're ready.
we would like an interview.
Thank you, Mayor Adams.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you may just get that opportunity, because that's how it happens.
That's right.
You know,
And if he wants to remain the mayor of New York City, he's going to have to listen to his
some
he's going to have to listen to the people, and he's going to have to accommodate people who have been born in New York City and who stayed in New York City through all of its different scenarios, and crime rate up, stabbings on the subway. In New Yorkers are so resilient. Hey, you could get stabbed one day, but you'd be back on that subway the next day going to work. Okay, if you make it and you're alive. That's how resilient New Yorkers are. We survived 9/11, and they always have this saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
You know Frank Sinatra song.
Mhm.
And also Jay-Z and what's her name, Alicia Keys. Everyone has a New York song.
Mhm.
We might even make up one on this show.
Sadly, it's also the number one place that any other people outside the country want to attack or whatever. I guess they figure if they can destroy New York, they've gotten America. Not knowing that, you know.
It or not, it is true. It is true. Because remember, after 9/11, everything in America was affected and went down. I had people who in Africa who usually come to visit and they get money from universities and grants to come over here. They shut all of that down. The banks, everything was shut down. You know, what happens in New York affects the whole world. And believe me, the whole world is looking.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And anyone out there who's listening in, by the way, if you're a part of the government, CIA or FBI or New York City Police, if you want to comment, please feel free to contact us and we'll listen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you have that disclaimer, Tonya, that we mentioned? I think it was disclaimer 107, the Fair Act.
Yeah, I have what you sent me. I just yeah.
Well, we probably need to read it right now. I wanted to play some music from Abby Lincoln, Aminetta Misata. She changed her name to. She has a song called "Throw It Away." You know, where she suggests that if you have any problems, you have to just learn how to throw it away, you know, and move on. And she also had a song called "The People in Me," you know, for young people to realize that there's a large diversity in a world out there of different people. And yes, as a Black person, you are different, but love who you are. That was basically it. Love who you are, because our DNA will show many different nationalities, you know? So love who you are, accept who you are, young people. Build, build, build. Now is the time, you know, to start your own businesses. Read, read, read. You know, don't listen to everything on the internet. Go and do your own research. You have to do your research, because everything on the internet is not all factual. You have to start critically thinking about different scenarios. You have to question stuff. You have to look in the mirror, accept who you are. You see your Blackness, accept it. You might have high cheekbones, chinky eyes, red hair. You might wonder, well, how did that get in my DNA? Go research it. Find out about who your people are. You know, as Abby Lincoln had that song, "The People in Me," you know? So go find out who you are and love yourself. Just because you're being bullied in school, you don't have to go and commit suicide. No, don't give up. What you need to do after you let your teacher know, your family know, and everything, and if they're still bullying you, sometimes you have to stand up to them. And you might have to go to the bully and say, why am I so important to you? Why are you always bothering me? And you know what? My mother used to say when I used to come home and say, oh, Ma, they teasing me about my big lips. I'm flat chested. The boys used to be calling me Chesterfields and all that. And my mother used to say to me, you know what? You go back and you tell those kids that you're a gift from God and that your lips are big because your mother lips are big and your father lips are big. And that's all you. And you have God lips, she used to say. She said, you have God lips. And she said, when you get older, guess what? The men, she said, you might not understand what I'm saying now, but the men, they're going to love your lips. And I'm like, what? They're going to love my lips. And, you know, I get a lot of compliments. And look how the Kardashians and all these people who used to talk about our big lips, our big butts, our big breasts, and our cheekbones, now they're getting shots to imitate us.
Exactly.
okay, and messing up their bodies. You know,
Yeah.
they want what we have, and we have to learn how to appreciate who we are and love ourselves. You
Mhm.
know, just love who you are. If you have a big stomach or you have um, a big behind, instead of going to get surgery, whatever, walk it off. Do exercise. Try to lose your weight naturally. And if you can't lose weight, hey, forget about it. Forget about it.
Still be
Eat
healthy
your
and not
food and
lose
do
too
your
much weight.
exercise.
But the
You
way
know,
you have, you can work with it, you still be healthy.
don't always listen to the doctors, because most of our doctors are Europeans, and they may have a different outlet in terms of your body weight. They might not understand the development of Black women, but they do. They pretend. Okay, some of us are 5 feet, and we may be over the body index. We may weigh over 135 pounds at 5'4", of course. Okay, so some Black doctors, that may be okay with them, but some of the European doctors, that might not be okay with them, because they say, oh, your blood pressure is going to go up or whatever. But if you do a lot of walking and you do exercise, you drink a lot of water, you take some natural herbs, you'll be okay.
I
So love
think
who you
that
are.
I think that a lot of our measurements shouldn't be held to the standards of what they have, because I don't think, as a Black person, I don't think our blood pressure is at the level of theirs. I think we have a naturally higher level blood pressure.
Of course, we have more stress in our life.
Well,
It's,
yeah,
and
that too, but I just think like it's like more of a generator type
right,
situation.
yes, and it might be genetics as well. You
Yeah.
know, um, we work harder than anyone else. You know, there's a lot of factors, as you said, to that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not taking everything into consideration. But we want to have good mental health. We want to be psychologically sound. We want to have a good spiritual soundness,
Mm-hmm.
and we just want to be at peace. Have a peace of mind. I'm not saying PIECE. I'm saying PEACE. We want
Yeah.
peace in our minds, which
There's
is very
always some sort of monkey wrench thrown in that. We were talking about it briefly yesterday. It was a video going around. No, actually, it was local, on the local news, of
mhm,
a young man. I don't think it happened locally, but it was of a young man that he was already arrested in the police station, and he
mhm.
was standing there talking. You couldn't hear the audio, but he was talking, saying something to the officer, and you see the officer like pretend he's going to get something off the fax machine, and like reaches over, and then he just sneaks the young Black man out of nowhere and like knocks the breath out of him. You like
Oh
hit
my God.
diaphragm, how they just instantly knock the breath out of you. So it looked like he was already knocked out. And then after he's down, they throw him down on the ground, and
Mm.
he just the smashing his head on that freaking concrete floor. And then two other officers come in and start to hold the young man down, but he was already looked like he was knocked out, and who knows, you know, like he that blow was crazy, and for the way they just smashed his head in. So all of that to say is that every other day or so we keep getting these images, like they make sure they try to keep us in anger or in fear. Because right
Right,
away when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm already know I gotta brace myself or whatever. Trying not to get triggered. But
right,
see that shit, it was hard not to get triggered. So yeah, I got triggered. Trying
right.
not to get triggered. So
Yes.
definitely be careful and protect yourself. The thing is, yeah, we keep on getting these images to see on a daily basis, if not a weekly basis, at a minimum, and they're coming a lot now. There seems to be a lot of prejudice acts going on in America right now.
Yes, and it's
It's
done
not
deliberately.
being talked about, really.
It's done deliberately and by design. They call it subliminal uh, media forms of indoctrination to remind you constantly to see those images of young Black males being injured by the police officers. They'll have a commercial first with a dog and people loving a dog or an animal, and then they'll bring on a young Black man beaten down by police officers, and that stays in your mind as you're thinking of the jingle of Mr. Softly or something from the commercial, and then you're looking at a young Black man being brutalized by the police, you know, and that sends out a message, especially to young Black men, that we control you. We control you. You're under our watch constantly, and we don't think very well of you. And that media image has to change. It's just so much, you know. Oh, it was just Father's Day. Would you like to say something in reference to Father's Day? I mean, every day is Father's Day, but would you like to say something in reference to Father's Day?
Me? Do I want to
Yeah,
say something in
yeah.
reference to Father's Day?
Like shout out to fathers or anything.
Um, well, not anything that I haven't already said now that it's passed. Yes, every day needs to be Father's Day, as every day is Mother's Day. And just
Mm-hmm.
like mothers, what we need to do is actually be it and not just wear the title.
Mm-hmm.
What I am seeing and what I have been seeing lately is that a lot of young people are wonderful parents.
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
have young children, well, not young children, but I have children that are raising children, and I commend them on their parenthood. I always tell them they are great parents. And
Right.
not only that, I've been seeing other acts of young parents, and we can't just assume that because they are young, they don't know how to be parents. And they are doing a lot of things better than we did.
Right. They're more, I'm saying that there are more fathers who are taking more time with their children, and some are even single fathers who are raising
Yes,
children.
yes,
I just
absolutely.
want to say shout out to the fathers. Myself, I had a biological father as well as an extended father, and who raised us and did a good job. And I was uh I was a father's girl, a daddy's girl from my biological father as well as my extended father.
I was,
And Tonya, I think you are too, as well as your sister.
mm,
Um, when you have a father as a girl growing up who love you, they're going to guide you a little differently as opposed to a young lady who didn't have a father in her life. And every girl needs their father. Even if you don't live with them, you could find a way to be their father by calling them more. Now you could Zoom with them if you can't meet with them every day, but you could definitely Zoom.
FaceTime. All kinds of ways. Yeah, there's no excuse anymore.
Right. And I do see a lot of, like, with my young, well, they're not young, of course, they're from 30 to 42, but my sons, and they're, ironically, I had sons, and my only girl passed away, and then I had two more sons. And ironically, um, I had boys and they had girls now. Okay. So only one didn't have a child yet, and I'm hoping maybe he'll get a boy, or eventually somebody will get a boy. But to carry on the name and everything, and you just need male energy around you. So I want to get
They will.
shout out to our fathers and some people who are uncles, who are fathers, who are non-related, but they are fathers through being godparents or just being around children, period. I want to say shout out to our fathers. You are wonderful. Continue to be in your children's life and just find a way, because there's always a way. Be
True.
there for them
Yeah.
because they need you.
Exactly. Yes. I was just saying that earlier, how it was nice to see that my granddaughter has both of her parents, and
Yes,
yeah, she's that's how it's supposed to be.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Supposed to be, and you know, my mom, when she broke up with my father and separated, she told us, and we had 7 children. She said, "I'm going to get y'all a father." You
Mhm.
know, did she get us a father? We
Yes.
even gave him a title because he was such of a disciplinarian
Mhm.
and he cared about us. We gave him the title Lord Jim, my
Yeah.
brother, and that title is from um, this book called The Lord of the Flies. And you had one named Lord Jim. He was the gatekeeper. He was a disciplinarian. Okay, so that's how we gave Lord Jim that name.
Yeah.
And he was stern, to say
Mhm.
the least.
He had that kind of voice.
Oh, he had that baritone voice
Yeah.
that was strong. He was a man who went to work every day.
Mhm.
Uh, he didn't take any mess. When they say Papa don't take no mess, that was him all the way. Papa don't take no mess.
And we need that in our communities too.
Exactly.
And have big respect for our elders because they have a lot for us if we would
Yeah,
just listen.
yeah. My biological father, as well as Lord Jim, used to always give me great advice,
Mhm.
and I miss that advice. And sometimes I find myself saying, and also with my mother, what would my mother do in this case? What would my dad do in this case? What would Lord Jim do in this case? I find myself walking and wondering and meditating. What did they say? Sometimes they would say the most outlandish things, but they would end it and say, now I gave you some advice. It's up to you to take it. And they said, and you could take that to the bank.
Thank. Yeah.
Like in other words, it was more
No, it's them.
if you
No
could
doubt about it.
right, you could deposit that information in the bank. If the bank would have taken it, it was like money so valuable.
Hmm.
If you could take it to the bank, you better believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Nowadays, it almost is cashable because information
right.
is commodity, basically. To have the right information.
Yes.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
what else you want to talk about? The
Oh
extraterrestrials?
man, there's so much. You have well, we didn't touch on the submarine situation.
Oh yeah, they found.
Condolences to all involved.
Yeah, they. I was praying that there would be a miracle and they would find them, but they found them, and they said the reports are that they heard banging, and now they're saying that they're presumed to be dead. We
Mm,
don't know if they're dead or not, but
I
they're presumed.
heard the last report of the one about hearing the banging and stuff like that.
Right.
It's just too bad that they couldn't locate them, you know, at all.
I'm still hoping for some type of miracle.
Technology where it's supposed to be, which
Right.
to the light that our oceanic technology is not, not anywhere near what it needs to be for such an excavation like that. Even though they said the chip's been made a number of times by other people and whatnot, but not so much in a vessel. What was the other vessels that were used successfully? Because that one didn't come close to it.
Right. But you know what, Tonya? I don't know if you know this, but when your father was in the Marines, and I'm sure he told you that he worked and they traveled in the submarines underground.
Hmm. He was in the Navy, correction.
Right. Right. He was in the
That right.
Navy.
Ooh
Right.
wee.
He was in the Navy. They were he was stationed inside and underground in submarines.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows a lot about submarines.
Right.
If you are listening, my big brother Melvin, you may call in if you want to express yourself in reference to this topic, because you definitely have expertise first about submarines, and I bet he's sitting there now with his beer analyzing this whole situation.
He's
and
probably, yeah, definitely.
what they could have done, the many things that could have been done in reference to this.
Mm-hmm.
Because my brother also built on the first 747, and this is documented, he built a water apparatus on the first 747, and they documented it in the newspaper in LA at the time, as well as they documented every single part that was built, because he's like a scientist. I'm gonna say he is a scientist. If you go to his house, before there were remote controls, he had his own remote early 70s and stuff. There was just, he would take a lighter. He had this lighter that was like a man, and that lighter in his house could turn on the TV, open the bar, and do so many different things.
I remember that.
A genius and an inventor like that. I'm telling you, he went to Hughes High School in Manhattan. And my younger brother as well went to that school. And I'm telling you, since they were like 5 years old or whatever, my mother said they could take apart a radio, put it back together. I mean, they were young electricians at an early age. My older brother taught my younger brother, and then my younger brother went to that school as well. And that was a school that taught skills, electronics and everything. I believe that David Dinkins, he went to that school as well as a lot of other people in our community. But those were the days that schools actually taught hands-on skills. And young people were able to get out of high school and go right into their profession, and support their families.
Right.
Because they had those skills. And you could never take those skills away from them.
Speaking of that, Auntie, I'm not sure if you're advertising online, but I'm putting myself out there for summer tutoring. Pretty much any subject: math, science, social studies, whatever, English, if they're still teaching that, comprehension, whatever it is, we can work it out. You would contact me at houseoftanya23@gmail.com. If anyone needs, and that's from your kindergarten through 12th grade tutoring,
right,
is available.
Yeah, I would like to put it out there for myself too. It's something that I have definitely thought about, because I was an educator, and but because it's just needed. When children are out of school, they need to practice their mathematics or arithmetic. They need to practice reading. So when they go back to school, they're always tested and placed in reading according to how they score when they come back from school. So again, yes, I'm putting it out there as well. I'm available for tutoring youngsters and also taking them on trips around the city as well, because that's all a part of learning, field trips as well. Now, I also sew, and I make products just like my niece make products, natural products, and I sew, and I'm willing also to teach youngsters how to cook, wash clothes, braid your hair. I'm learning. And
yeah, wow, that's great. We actually need a little spot for that, but yeah.
Right.
you're there in New York, I would definitely travel in for a little event or whatever if you were gonna take, a group to a museum for say or
Right.
something like
Follow around Harlem
yeah.
tours.
But for
Um,
now, if you want to give an email address for
oh
anybody
yes.
who might want to contact.
Okay. I'm on Facebook, and also my email address for people who want to contact me
I'll
privately.
put it in the chat.
Okay, it's N as in never again. ZING as in gorgeous. We trust at gmail.com. And that's a part of us moving forward and paying back to our fellow Black people.
So
Because we're
it's
not giving up on you.
Nzingha we trust at gmail.com.
Yes. No, Nzing, Nzing.
Mm-hmm.
We trust at gmail.com.
Oh, okay, not Nzinga. Okay.
Right.
Nzinga, got it.
Yes. So, and if you go online to Facebook, of course, I'm on Facebook, and you could become my friend. I'm looking for a young lady right now that saw me up at the Malcolm X pilgrimage. We used to live at Delenis Village. They now call it the Savoy. Her name is Gracie. So if anyone knows Gracie, she came up and gave me a hug at the Malcolm X pilgrimage because she knows my sons and my family, and I seen her grow up. And now she's working with one of the council people up in Harlem. And what we're trying to do is help people who were displaced out of New York and had to move other places. We're trying now to get them back into New York. Okay. And I just want to give her a shout out. And if Brother Felder is listening, um, please contact me on my email at nzing we trust at gmail.com. And I surely will be happy, more than happy, to work with everyone up there in Harlem, especially in Harlem, because so many people in Brooklyn have been displaced. And I used to do housing. I have actual experiences, and we could do case studies to get people back into the city. And we have all right to get back into the city because we were born in the city of New York. And we have been, a lot of us, uprooted. And we need to focus on that a little more. And again, Mayor Adams,
Yeah.
anyone from his administration, if you are in the listening audience, please contact us. And we could have
this election is definitely going for the next New York City election. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely going to have some work done for the same people to get the votes. That's a fact. The housing is going to have to be solved.
Exactly. It's going to have to be on those individuals' campaign advertisements. And you know what? They could learn from Trump, because Trump, one thing he does, he's in the community. He's amongst his people. Hey, they might be racist as hell, but we got to give them the credit that they going door to door, brick to brick, knocking on those doors. They have their already having their leadership conferences and stuff. And I want to say to our politicians, where are you? Why we only see you at a certain time? Come out now. Let people know who you are. Walk in your community. Don't be afraid. Get on those corners. Go to those social clubs. Okay? Go to the parties where the young people are at. Go to the parks.
Mm-hmm.
Brick by brick, organize, so we could see you if you want our support. We're not just giving up our vote. You have to earn our vote.
Right. People have to understand that their votes are valuable.
Mm-hmm. Just like your money is valuable. If you don't get respect, from people, don't spend with them. You know, buy with your own kind, like everybody else does. You know, the Chinese go all the way down to Chinatown, okay, to get their products. You see them on the train with their red bags and so forth. The Italians buy from the Italians. The Puerto Ricans buy from the Puerto Ricans. The Dominicans buy from the Dominicans. The Africans buy from the Africans. Okay? Because you know they're going to carry the products that you need. So Black people, we are the biggest consumers. It's not that we don't have money, because we have money if we combined it. We spend the most out of anybody in America, okay? Because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses or whatever. Start creating your own products, okay? If your grandmother knew how to sew, or you have a sewer in your family, or aunt, or cousin, whoever, get you a sewing machine and let them teach you how to sew. And you will be amazed of the different designs you could come up with, okay? Now, if you want to get some natural products, there are places where you could go get those natural products wholesale and combine them and blend them up. Make your own products. In other words, build yourself up, start your own businesses. Even if you write poetry, whatever, you could sell that poetry. You could type it up and sell it for $1 or $2 or $5 or something. Create your own magazines, manage your own image and your own media, okay? If it's to be, then it's up to we. It's up to we. We don't have all the answers, okay? You don't have all the answers, but together we could come up with some more constructive answers, okay? So let's build our community up. Oh, look, a set has on some beautiful earrings, okay? You could go into jewelry making. We buy enough jewelry.
It certainly is easy. And
Yes.
they have so many things to make it easy. Yes, if you have any creative talents and whatnot, that's another show that I have planned set aside, where we're going to talk about DIY opportunities for those that have, skills and talents, how to turn that into a business. So we're gonna have a separate, talk
Or
about that. Yeah, have a list of things to talk to you all about. But yes, and also, um, I'm a notary public for 23 years. I
that's right.
have the information on what you can do with your notary public license outside of just doing, mere notarizations. There's a whole world of opportunities out there. And I do give a class on Zoom a couple times a month. I will drop the link in the chat if you are interested. And it doesn't matter what state you're in, because they are notaries in all 50 states plus Hawaii. So let's get together so you can grab that information.
I probably take your class as well. And
Cool.
it's about time. Now I understand there's a state, certain states are providing tests and everything.
Yes.
Well, we just have to do what we have to do.
Yeah.
I waited too long, but it's okay. It's okay.
Definitely a good thing to have. As you can see in life, you've probably needed one a couple times yourself.
All the time. All the time.
And
Because I want all the time. And just need to notarize stuff to make it official. And so I'm a licensed 7A administrator. That means that you could administer buildings, take over accounts of landlords who abandon their property, and then you collect the rent and take that rent and put it back into that multiple dwelling for the tenants.
Wow.
And I took those courses with HPD in New York City when Mayor Koch told me how, what was he saying? How am I doing? Mayor Koch, tell me how I'm doing, right? So he wasn't always doing so well. So we did a lot of protests down there. But I'm a 7A administrator as well as a HUD certified counselor. And I even need I didn't go pick up my, believe it or not, I didn't go pick up my certificates. At the time I was working for the Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association. I asked them to go get my certificates after I took all the classes because I did not want to shake Mayor Koch's hand. Okay? Because
Wow.
people saying, how am I doing? And I was pregnant at the time with my second son, and I didn't like the way he was doing. And I did not want to shake his hand and get my certificate. So my certificates went directly to my job, the Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association. And if people know them, you know, they help out with tennis. We was even involved in starting the first information law table at the 141 Livingston Street Housing Court, the City Housing Court.
Wow.
Coalition of different housing agencies, and we were one of them. Med Council, the BNIA, Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association, Metropolitan Action Institute, as well as a lot of different organizations. Yes, those were our ideas, and we started those information tables at the courts. And as you well know, you see those people down there now. During the pandemic, you didn't really see them though, and afterwards, but they're in existence, and they also work with close by with lawyers. So it's so much vast information out there. You know, I'm like a sponge. I try to learn a little bit of everything. My mother always called me Curious George. You know, she said, God. And my mother, but she would say, go out there and learn it and then come back and tell me about it. You know, and the same with Lord Jim. They were reading my psychology books when I was studying psychology, and my sociology books. And when I would come home, they knew those terms.
That's good.
And we would have conversations together, you know, just like you, Tonya, when your father, remember when he was going to Bros community, he would sit there and talk to you about his class and everything.
We
And
have philosophy talk,
right?
stuff.
And Tonya would be saying these big, big words.
I've been a philosopher since I was a kid.
Since she was a kid, because she was around all of us, and she would be using these big, big, intelligent words. And she was always in the top of her classes, like myself, you know, because that runs in our family.
Yeah.
That runs in our family. And even if we
definitely does.
if we have alcoholics or people who are addicted to crack or any kind of drugs, guess what? They're the most intelligent person on those drugs, okay?
For sure.
No doubt, hands down. If they had to go see a psychiatrist or whatever, you better believe they could break down the psychological terms and psychiatrists, medicines, and everything, okay? All right? Because my mother and my father, they emphasized education to us, you know, and we were taught from the Bible, you know. Hey, when we didn't go, we quit church, in fact. My brother Melvin, your father, back in the 60s, we used to go to this church across the street in Harlem, a Catholic church, because my mother and father decided they're not going to pick our religion. So one went to a Baptist church, my father, and my mother, she went to the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and they had conflict. So they said, okay, we're not going to pick the children's church. We'll just take them around to different denominations and let them learn about different, you know, religions and stuff. And then when they get older, they'll pick their own church. But meanwhile, this Catholic church was across the street because it was easier, and with 7 people in our family, we went there. My older brother had to take us. So back in the 60s, we were all into our Blackness and whatnot. And my brother used to always go down in the streets and protest and stuff. And then we'd be crying like, we hope he make it home and everything. And we hope he make it home before mom and pop get home.
Yeah. Oh my.
And when he took us to church one day, he didn't like what the
guy was
white
saying.
priest and the nun and all of them was saying, and they give us little white doll babies and whatnot. And he said, he stood up and it was a walkout. He said, all of y'all stand up. And we all stood up. He said, give those white doll babies back to them. Wow. They present, it was around Christmas time. We said, no. He said, give it back. He said, we ain't having no more white doll babies, no more white toys. We don't want your little cheap crackers and all your milk and all these. Give everything back. And we stood up and we walked out.
I know that's right.
And we ain't never been back to that church again. And my brother said, this is BS. Because they usually, like, the way they taught, they would put Black people down. You know, everything was so derogatory towards us. Okay, everything white was promoted and perfect and pure. Everything Black was bad, you know. And my brother said he's tired of listening to this shit. And excuse me. Yeah. And he said, oh, we all like wash our hair. We all was wearing afros at that time, you know. And the Panthers was around, of course. And we were saying Black power and all that. And we were like, nah, we ain't straightening our hair. We wear afros and all this. Braiding our hair and everything. And of course, you know, we were around the corner across the street. I think we lived from, at that time, we called it Mount Morris Park. It's now called Marcus Garvey Park. And they used to have all those little free concerts and stuff. And we used to always go to the free concerts and everything. And we hung out like sisters and brothers. Yeah. At that time, nobody bothered us because we were the Alstons. If you mess with one, you had to mess with all of us. Yeah. That time we had that type of unity. We went every place together because basically Melvin, he had to babysit us and take care of us when our mother and father went to work. And when he then went into the Navy, then the next older person, they become in charge and take care of the younger sisters and brothers and on and on. You know, my kids were Andrea and Omar. You know, by that time I was the bigger sister and Annie took care of me, but she was always outside jumping double dutch. I never learned to jump double dutch, and I had to mind my young sister and brother. You know? And then she used to sneak back in before Ma come home, you know, before Ma and Dad come home. And then everything, we just play like, everything is hunky-dory, you know? I remember stories about Aunt Annie hanging out and coming home late and stuff, getting to it with Grandma. Yeah. And in those days, you know, kids, we were disciplined. Yeah. They spared that rod. We got beatings. Okay. I still remember, I swear, I still have a back pain in my mind. But my mother, I turned too fast. And she said, I did not dismiss you. I did not tell you to turn around. And I was trying to get to my room to, you know, go slam the door. Before I could do that, she took off her spike heel pointy toe and threw that heel at me, hit me in my spine, my lower back. And I still feel that pain today. Okay. And she's dead and gone. But that made me understand you don't walk away from your mom before she actually dismissed you. And when I became a teacher, what a hard lesson, you know. It was a hard lesson, but I learned spinal injury because of but you know, that actually opens up a whole nother topic, because a lot of the things, like, we went through a lot of trauma like that was pretty dramatic, you know what I'm saying? But we learned to dust it off and keep it moving, you know. Yep. And sometimes I had to discipline my sons physically as well. But then eventually, because they all became so much bigger than me, I had to learn another way. And I didn't hit them, because when one picked me up one day, when I was getting ready to hit one picked me up and handed me to the other one, Said, oh, this is over. No more, no more, no more. I cannot hit them anymore. I have to speak to them. You know, they would listen to their dad. He didn't have to say much. But that's why you need a dad in the house. You know, that's why you need male in the house with male children, because a father could just look at their child and just say, go do that. And they go do that. A mother says the same thing. And they're like questioning her or playing with her, joking with her, you know. But my mother did not play that. When she gave you the eye, you had to listen.
I know
And
that.
when she tell you, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to fix you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. We were begging her, oh, please don't fix us. Please don't fix us. That goes into another realm of our ancestry and spiritualism, too.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they might not understand what fix me.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of fixing.
But we understand, okay? We understand. Somebody said they're going to fix you. You better get in shape. You better get in shape.
Sure. I don't want no fixing.
You don't want to get fixed because
for sure.
You might not be able to unfix yourself.
Okay. What's the remedy for unfixing, right?
They only knew. And as you get older, you understand. You understand what fixing is.
For sure.
Okay? For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yes, indeed. Folks, it's been a wonderful time.
I want to shout out a person, a birthday to a dear friend, a sister that I love. Her name is Mama Angela Uzi, and she's going to have a birthday this weekend. I want to say happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
You're a wonderful person. She's the wife of Brother G2 Uzi, who passed away. He's no longer with us, but she continues
condolences
to be an activist and continue his work and everything. You know, a brilliant woman. And I just want to say again, happy birthdays. Kudos to you. Continue to struggle. Asante Sana, we thank you for all that you have done and all your contributions. Thank you.
Asante Sana.
Asante Sana.
I say. Yes. It's been a wonderful evening. Once again, another segment. Thank you so much, Queen Nzingha, for committing your time to come on. We are, we're a number now. We're a team now. So watch out. You know, the Tonya 23 experience might have to be adjusted. The Tonya 23 and Queen Nzingha experience. I think
also, can I make an announcement? Something that's going to be coming up in August.
Witnessed an empire in the making.
I have a little poster here. I had put it on cardboard and I had to carry it. So this is a Marcus Garvey. And it's going to be the Marcus Garvey Parade and Celebration in Harlem on August 17th, 2023.
A little so we could see it.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you can take a picture of it or not. I'm sorry.
Not right now, but you can send me a screenshot of it. Like you can take a picture on your phone in that way.
To you. But you know, we're now at the end of June.
So it's August when? August 17th?
August 17th is his birthday, 2023. And email on this is buyblackcampaign@gmail.com. And, you know, for more information, you could call Sister, Ya Asantewa Thutmose. Her number is 929-624-4142. It's a part of the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement.
Say the
And
number again.
okay,
929.
I'm holding it up to 929-624-4142.
Okay.
As well as another organization I would like to mention. I was a part of that organization as well. And another organization is the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA. Get in touch with Brother Raymond S. Dugu. And I'm going to see if he has an email here. He's out in Queens, New York. Okay, yes, his email is Raymond, RAYMOND DUGUE@gmail.com. And you could get in touch with that individual. Okay. He's the second assistant president, counsel, and high chancellor of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So better known as the UNIA. They even have them all over the world and in the South. On Juneteenth, they gave a great, maybe the next time we come on, you could show part of that on Sisters Original with our cousins sung us of the parade, UNIA parade.
Yeah.
And did y'all have one in Maryland?
Not to my knowledge. I do not think we did.
Mm-hmm. Well, Harlem had a great one, I understand.
Yeah.
That Saturday, it was beautiful, I understand. They even had a marching band. And that was really nice. And hopefully, maybe for this time, the Marcus Garvey Parade, they may also have, I was told, maybe a marching band as well.
Yeah.
Tonya, you may have want to come up during that time.
Yes. I was thinking about that August thing. If it's not the same, I have a commitment 1 week in August, and I hope it's not that same week.
Well, this one is also in conjunction with the Harlem Week. Like, remember the last time you came?
Yeah.
And it was Harlem Week. So this one falls in that time period as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could probably try to plan accordingly or make your appointments before that or whatever. I would love to see you in person, and maybe we could do some coverage.
Oh, we definitely would do
soldiers on the street, boot down in, and be in boots, but we'll be in our natural traditional clothing more than likely. And we could be at the parade interviewing people live. Mm-hmm.
That definitely sounds like a plan.
Yes.
Yes. And for tonight, folks, we are about to wrap it up, but we will have all of our announcements. We'll be announcing these things again every time we come on up into the dates. So everybody can get prepared. Definitely for the flyers, send me a screenshot of that if you can, so we can reshare that with everybody. And it's been a wonderful evening, everybody. Have a good rest of your week. Ain't no telling what could go down. So always, have your guards up, but be at peace and always show love and compassion. And until the next time, for the Tonya 23 and Queen Nzingha experience, everyone stay cool, calm, and collected. Want to say anything on the way out, Queen?
Yes. Protect your image. And I just want to say peace, power, and food.
I know that's
Black
right.
Power.
Yes, Black Power, for sure, for sure. Everybody stay well. And on the way out, I'm going to try and play this thing again,
Mm-hmm.
in which I cannot find now. It's on another screen. Never mind. Until the next time.
I was going to try to play something from Abby Lincoln, but I would have to go over and get my remote control.
Oh yeah. Plus
I
we
already
might get
have
a copyright thing. We'll get a
right. It's the
copyright.
disclaimer. It's the disclaimer of 107 Fair Act
Yeah, I
Division.
put it in. It's on the video, but they'll still copyright us. They'll
Okay, so
strike
you know
on the
what?
YouTube.
I'm just going to sing a piece of the song. How about that?
Bless us.
Okay, so you gotta throw it away, throw it away. Come on, Tonya, do some jazz beat in
I
the
have
back.
no idea the melody.
Any type of skidding or anything with jazz or rap,
Just
whatever.
throw it away. Throw it all away.
It away. Take all your problems and it's not your battle.
Throw it
Give it
away.
away. Just throw it away.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. Throw it away. It's not your battle, not your problem. Throw it away. That sounds
Throw
like
it
some
away.
good advice.
That's right.
For sure. So peace until the next time. Remember, throw it away.
You got to throw it away.
Throw it all
You
away.
throw it away. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Woo woo woo. Throw it away.
Woo woo. Peace, y'all.
Wonderful show. Thank you. Thank you, my
Yes.
beautiful niece.
Thank
Aset.
you, Auntie.
Thank you, Aset.
Yes. Peace, Nzingha. I'll be talking to you.
Okay.